everybody. Welcome.
Hello, Julio. Welcome.
Hey, Gary, how you doing?
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, everyone. Obviously, there'll be a few people that join late. And also, for those that are on tonight, this will be recorded. So if you have to step out at any point, don't stress and don't worry. You don't need to text me. We'll make sure that we get out a recording to everyone. But tonight, I have a special guest. Julio is with us, and we are going to be talking about all things property. And again, my favorite part of tonight is this amazing software we've got that helps us with the wealth creation aspect and to see where we are today to where we'll be in a few years. I'm very excited to again have Julio back with us.
Welcome, everyone. That's the keynote speaker there. Here you go.
Yeah, so Julio, so I've known you now for quite a long time. Probably people look at me and think I'm quite young. People look at you and think you're quite young.
Quite old, right? That's what you're gonna say, right?
I was. But obviously at JDL, you do a lot of property stuff. Medigrow, we deal with the medical industry, and probably we're not actually going to talk about it today, but Unstoppables is probably my favorite or most coolest thing that you do. So everyone, if you want to jump into Google at some point, you can Google that and check out the amazing things that Julio's been doing with Unstoppables for maybe like 10 years or something, right?
Yeah. It's 10 years, 12 years. Man, I am getting old.
But tonight we are talking about property because you are our resident property expert. And yeah, that's why we have you here.
Oh, man. It's great to be back, Gary. Our last event went extremely well. People shared the software, they shared the presentation with others. So it's good to be back. It's good. I acknowledge your team, I acknowledge Paula saying, let's do something else because there's an incredible amount of requests. And so here we are. So guys, I'm going to start this presentation with no further ado. I just want to say to you this. Again, my name is Julio De Laffitte, the founder of JDL Strategies. We have been helping people into debt reduction, tax minimization, and investment through property for over 30 years. We've been doing some amazing things. Our track record is that we have created over 2,400 multimillionaires. We have done over $8 billion in real estate. I met Gary, and we look at assets, be it crypto, be it gold, be it business, be it cash, be it property, as utilities for growing a portfolio. So in real terms, my conversation is this, is to raise the financial intelligence and its applications to all Australians. So I've been doing it for a long, long time. And what we would love to do, I'm just following what Gary said before, is if you have any questions, right, please put into the box. We'll try to answer them. At the end, Gary and I will hang in here with you. We're going to answer some of the questions. Anything you throw at us, my team is here now. They will be able to pick it up and they'll start selecting for us some of the key questions. If the questions are too broad, we'll still get back to you via email and other communication. But my intention tonight is to deliver 200 hours worth of reading in an hour and a half. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, when an author writes a book, he needs to make sure, the skies are blue and the oceans are green. So they got to give you a lot of background in order to make a point. What if Gary and I were to hang out and we just give you the points, just give you the key points. The slides are just to guide us and to guide the conversation so we don't go on major tangents. Last time we were here, the tangents were amazing. We talked heaps about self-managed super fund. We talked heaps about parents helping their kids to invest, and happy to go there as well and talk a little bit about that today. But what we'll deliver tonight is learn how to pay off your mortgage years earlier. Most people do not have a debt reduction strategy. They know little pieces. I'll give you an example. Gary and I have a client in common, the guy we mentioned about a doctor. Imagine what it is to have a doctor who showed up in our lives and tells me and says, hey, I got $300,000 of profits sitting in one of my business, not ready to deploy. And that money, it's not an offset against any of his mortgages. This to us is like pure dissonance. You cannot act on what you don't know. So today we'll talk a little bit about finance, how the finance institutions work, and design some and show you how to get rid of debt in major ways. So like little tiny examples like that. We want you to pick up lots of insights like that through the night. Know how to achieve financial independence and how to build a portfolio for earlier retirement. We'll talk quite a bit about that. The truth is, we know lots of business owners, lots of people have an entire career, and at the end of the day, their portfolio may be one property plus super. In other words, they had plenty of opportunity in actually accumulating assets, but they were busy, perhaps too busy to make any money, right? So then between Gary and I, we want you to minimize your tax legally and perpetually. We'll talk a little bit about that through
And
depreciations. Yep.
it's that one there on when people say, you know, I actually hear it a lot. Like we talk about we talk a lot about the 1%ers, and we know that making the right 1% decision in life can have a major impact on the rest of our future. And then, you know, we were having a conversation the other day about a client, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just, I'm too busy to, go through with the process." And then you told me, and I was like, "Dude, he's not too busy. I'm working like 70, 80 hours a week, and I still find time to buy a property." So, I think people use that excuse they're too busy or it's not the right time when we're just about to have, this is recorded and this may not work in my favor, but I believe we're going to have a rate cut in May. I believe in the next, I think it's 3 weeks time, we'll have a rate cut. And, there could be another 2 or 3 rate cuts this year. And people that say that they're too busy to make financial decisions for the rest of their life, it takes like 5 hours or 10 hours of work now to buy a property that could be up by 50% or 100% over the next 5-10 years time. So it blows my mind when people use that excuse they're too busy, and I will try not to say on a tangent on that topic. But I make more money myself. Like I'm just now being mindful of my words. I make more money myself, do my investments, than I do from working.
Same here, Gary. Same here. Same here, right?
When people say to you and people say to me they're too busy, I'm like, dude, we make so much more to investing than working. Like, how are you too busy?
Yeah. So guys, we're on for a good night. The feedback of last one, we would love to have your feedback as well. The feedback from the last event we did together, Gary and I did together, I was really welcomed. I received so many good emails after. It was just amazing, right? So now, here's the game that we're talking about. Too busy to make any money, right? Let's just say you and I were bumped into the airport, and you said to me, Julio, how do I get rich, right? Well, there's one software, and there's only one software, and the software is, or you are accumulating capital, or you're not. Or you are accumulating capital, or you're not. Choose, right? So the government comes along, realizes that most people are not going to have enough. They can't pay the pension, so they throw the monkey at the business owners. What are you talking about? I'm talking about superannuation becoming federal law, and then it's just a percentage of your salary. What is it happening there? It's you accumulating capital through time. It's a percentage of your salary put into a fund. It is your money, but it isn't until much later. So that is that. How do I get richer? Are you accumulating capital or not? Well, people didn't have the due diligence, or they are genuinely busy, taking care of their kids, living their lives, to actually think investments. So the government had to intervene and go, man, we're not going to have money to pay you. So look, we're going to create this thing called superannuation. Now I'm going to teach you a trick just to start the night. If you ever, sometimes you are at a party and you bump into someone and you really don't like them and you want to get rid of them politely. All you got to do is to say to them, hey, how's your super going? It's funny because People are gonna
Run
look at
away.
look at you and say, "You're weird," you know, like what are you talking about?
That's the type of question that I would ask people. How's your super going? How's your
I just
investments going? How much money do you make? Sorry, why
yeah.
would I tell a random at a party this? I'm an accountant. It's okay.
How's your super going? Because it is your asset accumulation. But again, most people generally don't know. If somebody tells you how their super are doing, they are definitely an accountant or somebody that is in the last 10 years, in the last 7 years, even in the last 5 years out to retirement. That's when they start paying attention. They start looking at it and going like, huh. So one of the pillars is to increase your assets. The other one is to decrease your debt, right? You've got to have strategies. Everybody knows a good broker. Everybody knows a good broker. But very few people knows an excellent broker. And what's the distinction? It's simple. A good broker gets you the money. Oh, I need the money. I know a good broker. He gets you the money. Woohoo! An excellent broker will help you to get rid of the debt. You know, and again, this is being recorded. How do we say it out loud? Well, the truth is, the finance, and we will go into the details of this, but the majority of brokers don't want you to get rid of the debt. They actually, it's tough to say it, but I want to say it this way. I hate debt with a passion. There's a distinction between good debt and bad debt. Most people have heard about it, but nonetheless, for me, is I have debt that other people are paying for, and you're going to get really clear on that tonight. I have lots of debt that other people are paying for, and I have a debt reduction strategy running all the time. And then Gary and I were having a conversation about clients this morning, about strategies between the two of us, and to legally minimize your tax. Ladies and gentlemen, it is your right as a citizen. It is your right as a citizen to minimize your tax, to plan your tax. As a matter of fact, one of the veins of what we'll discuss tonight is the fact that governments will always give tax dispensations, right, for where they want the money to go. So, for example, the Australian movie industry, if you were to invest in a movie making venture, you may pick up some very fat tax concessions because you invest in the Australian movie industry. Right? Why? Because they want to develop that industry. I'm not saying movies are a good investment. My comment is about governments giving tax dispensations, right? What do we know in Australia about houses? There's a house crisis, right? We don't have enough houses. We're not going to build enough houses, and we know it for the next 10 years. So here's the three pillars. Increase your asset, minimize your debt, yep, and keep minimizing your tax. So the less tax you pay, the more money you have to invest. The more you invest, the more you invest, the less tax you pay. You get that money back, you start driving your debt down. So, and that is the composition. We'll come back to that as we go. The more you invest, the less tax you pay. The less tax you pay, the more you drive your debt down. The less debt you have, the more you invest. It creates a perpetual circle, right? Now, let me just talk to you about the pain and the state of play. I just want you to know this. Income is a sense of false security. Why? People's protocols in their mind is, I need more income. So you meet a girl on 100 grand, she wants to take it to 120. You meet a guy on 90 grand, he wants to take to 140. Whatever that, it's non-gender, it's just humans. So what we want to see is the income is starting to increase. But there is another piece of the mathematical puzzle or the internal dialogue for people. You can start looking around and you notice this is your cousin, this is your teacher, this is your kids, this is yourself. The average person spends exactly what they earn. They start a life on 50 grand a year, they spend 50 grand. They took it to 100, they spend 100. They took it to a million, they spend a million. We see that all the time.
And
all the time.
it's disheartening when we see, well, I do know people that make $1 million a year and spend it all on lifestyle and have no
Yeah.
assets or very small amount of assets. For anyone who thinks, if you thought you made $1 million a year and you have lots of assets, I have examples of people that don't. And I've already checked that they're not people that are in this call right now because they've got no interest, that they're just lifestyle spending people.
There's nothing wrong in having a huge lifestyle. The point is, who's going to pay for it? Your income or your assets, right? Yeah, me too. So then what happens for us is, so we're going to build the presentation tonight in some of the concepts. We're going to talk about how finance institutions work. We're going to talk a little about some insights into the island of Australia. We're going to talk about the revolution that is taking places with artificial intelligence, finances, numbers having no feelings. And then we're going to put it all together in helping you to build your portfolio. But it's very common for us, the average person that shows up in my life, right, without any strategies. I love introducing people to Gary because once you introduce people to Gary's spaceship, right, they're going to get coaching, they're going to get intel, they're going to get, a bunch of alignments. But if you were to convert time into money, the average person right, if you're paying 30 cents in a dollar, 35 cents in a dollar, the truth is you were working 3 months of the year for the government, the average person, right? So in April, you start earning. What are you talking about, Julio? Well, if you make 100 grand, you don't take home the whole 100 grand, do you? So the amount of money that is given away that you pay in tax was to convert it in time, 3 to 4 months. And the more you make, it can be 5 months. You are working for the government, right?
And this is why people get upset, to be honest, this is why people get upset at the rich, because the rich pay more tax in Australia as a dollar figure than, the top 10% pay majority of the taxes, right? However, the top 10% make sure that when they're making their money, when they're making their profits, they do it in a way that's more tax effective. So if I was to play the game, all of you guys there's a lot that don't have cameras on. So if you type in the chat box, are you a business owner or wage earner? And if you type that in the box, so I probably already know, but Julio wouldn't know. But all those that make majority of your income from wages and the business, and that's where majority of income comes from. Most people would be 95%, 100% of the income will come from their business or wage earners. You pay a higher percentage of tax than what I pay and what Julio pays because we make our money through investments.
Absolutely.
And that's the reality of it. So you look at this graph and you go, if all things were consistent and you made an even spread of income in the year, then you're paying 3 months of your year in taxes, and Julio and I will be paying, 1.5 months a year in our taxes because we've got a lower effective tax rate.
So back to the comment I made before, tax minimization is your right as a citizen. There is no point in trying to do something that is against the rules because, again, AI, computer, the ability of algorithms to compare what you say with what you do is state of the art. So that's why we need to understand the law and use it to do what? To increase our capital, to increase our assets. So when I say this to people, what is the return on the $24,000 you paid in tax last year? Personally, is 0%. Now, I'm not against tax. I understand there are hospitals, roads, schools. I am all pro having those services, the police force, etc. Now, I want to say a couple of things here. When they were introducing GST, they made us all sorts of promises in terms of these taxes they will take away. The truth is, GST came, and all the taxes that were supposed to be gone, they get tempered a little bit with, they're all on, still now. So you make the dollar, you pay the tax, but then when you spend the dollar, you pay tax again, right? So what I want to say here to you is, yes, I'm going to understand the law, and it's very dangerous when you're addicted to paying to debt and playing a zero-sum game. So let me just bring this baby home. On the 7th of August of every year, I look at my books and I ask myself one question: am I richer than last year? Now, philosophically, we know it's not all about the money. There's wealth that money cannot buy. The wealth of friendship and the ability to say to somebody, I love you. What I want to do is to be able to know, are my assets growing or not? That is just discipline. Why the 7th of August? is the birth of my first child. So bottom line is this: if I was to not work anymore, do I have assets that will work for me? Yeah. So why you keep working? Because I love what I do. Now I have more assets than I can spend the money. But what happens is I love the game. And then we sit up with other people, and then it becomes the conversation we had for a moment called the unstoppables. Imagine if you could live in a reality where you make more than what you need, then you make more than what you want, then you can start going into legacy. And we're not going to cover that tonight because that's for a different gathering, right? But the whole thing is, it's very common to us. A 46-year-old shows up and say, hey, I should be way ahead of where I am right now. I should be way ahead. What is going on? Well, you'll be matching your income to your expenses. You're being addicted to debt. Yeah. And you did not have the discipline to accumulate capital. How do you know? Well, 5,000 clients, 32 years in the game. So what happens then is we need to start to look at the nature of the dream. Why do 46-year-olds show up and go, I feel in my gut and in my heart that I should be way ahead than what I am right now? Well, numbers have no feelings. You do. Right. So let's have a look then at the nature of the numbers of what is going on here, right? So you take a 46-year-old in Australia, a house that's average, good, bad, ugly, every state. So we have clients in every state in Australia. So if we're to put everybody in a bucket and give me a general, give me the middle of the road, right? 46-year-old with a $900,000 house, mortgage. Look at this, $590,000. So if you just say to a 46-year-old, hey, how come you still have a mortgage? Never you get an answer like this. I am hypnotized to do so. I actually have a social agreement with all of my fellow citizens that I should be in debt. No one will ever say like that. Or another way is, I don't have a debt reduction strategy. Another way that you hear is, well, isn't everybody in debt? Maybe so, But if you keep looking at these numbers, the guy has $165,000 in super. Why? Oh, because I run my own business, and in the beginning, in the first 10 years or the first 15 years of my business, I didn't have enough money to put into super. So it was the last thing in my mind. After I met Gary, then after I was saying, I put in a little bit, I got some coaching on increasing the profit, and now I'm putting some money into super.
And remember, women have on average less. So I just quickly Googled it while you were talking. Women have close to 110,000 in super.
Yeah. So if we start to look then at permission for wealth for most people, if you to think about people start their lives, they match their income to their expenses, they're trying to get a pay rise. How long does it take to spend a pay rise? 6 minutes. Honey, I got a pay rise. We're gonna go now today. Well, we're gonna buy the car. We're gonna do rent. People match their income to expenses. But if you to actually look at wealth piece for the average person, is to work their butts off, educate their children. That's the software inside of them, and buy the biggest possible house during their life. Look at the size of the door. It's amazing. And then what? Now what now? So when your Aunt Geraldine told you that she had to sell the house because the house was too big, maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe because she couldn't eat the house. So she needed to sell the house, cash up, buy something smaller in order to live.
And that's my number one dislike is, and I deal with it with my I don't think there's any family members on. We'll find out later if I get in trouble. But I find it with my nan. My nan's got a $1 million house. She's on the pension. She's one of 2.5 million people in Australia on the pension, and she lives off the pension payments. And my view is that's not living. And her strategy was, I believe, wrong. Her wealth creation strategy is wrong. She's in her 80s now, so it's not going to change, and I can't change that. But she's just always put it down to, tomorrow, tomorrow, next year. And then
Yeah,
now it's like, oh, it's too late.
yeah. We also recently, we talk about your grandmother. We recently met somebody else who the business is doing extremely well, right? And this particular couple, they have a very sophisticated business, great structures. But there is another conversation we could have it like this. So your business is your farm, producing all the meat and milk that you can consume. Yeah. Why, when you have cows outside of the farm? What do you mean? Well, just the tax you're paying right now, just the cash flow going through, you could build a portfolio of properties that would basically accumulate and pay for themselves. Why are you not doing it? Because I'm too busy not to do it. Right. So then what happens is this. There's the reality about creating wealth for this generation and the next generation. Once you have the working horse working for you as an asset producing return, you can keep that up. You can pass it on to the next generation and pass it on to the next generation, and we're going to touch some of that today, right? So, Gary, I'm now going to start moving towards the debt conversation, all right? So, guys, just to summarize the first part, what we notice is people in their 46, sometimes they're in their mid-50s, and they haven't done anything because of what Gary just said. Next year, right? The three pillars: asset accumulation, debt reduction, tax minimization. Got it. What's stopping people from acting is because I'm working my butt off to educate my children and pay the house. And that takes me all my attention. Okay, got it. But I'll tell you what, I want to say something to you guys tonight. What if I told you that 200 people booked, 200 people clicked on the link that they would be here tonight, right? What happened? I'm going to tell you right now that the hypnosis took them. They're busy. They're not here, right? But you are. But the people that are not here and not hearing, they cannot choose. So you cannot choose what you don't know. So now I am going to shift towards finance, and I want to give you, right, in 5 minutes, 6 minutes, the equivalent of 4 books on debt reduction, right? If you went to the library today and you picked up 4 books like in the old days and said, I want to know how to get out of debt, and you read all the books, and then somebody said to you, what's the summary of everything you read? I'm about to give it to you, okay? And I'm going to take you through a journey. So you are not going to know it cognitively. You will know it. You'll be able to explain this to your niece, nephew, cousin, best friend tomorrow morning, okay? So I'm actually going to take you in an experience and take the numbers through the experience and you can see it. So let's go. Everybody in the book. Hey guys, for some of you that is still like a dinner, so on, love if you had your cameras up so we can see you, say hi, wave, say hello, right? For those of you that are here, hi Chris, how you doing? Good to see you. Hi Kev, how are you? Hey James, hey guys, Jenny, how are you? Hello Caitlin, how are you doing? Right? Hey guys, so what I want to say to you guys tonight is this, right? Every single person has an understanding that one day buy a house. Once they buy a house, they want to pay that house off. In this imagination right now, for me to deliver this in a shortest period of time, I want you to imagine that your permission for wealth was to buy that house, to have your own home. Got it. I want you to imagine now that the house is paid for. 0 debt. You made it. Doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter who you are. I want you to imagine your house is paid for. Everybody with me? Everybody cool? Okay. Now, I want you to imagine you went for a walk in the backyard and you thought, you know what, this summer was great. I'd love to have a swimming pool by next summer. I'm going to call somebody and I'm going to get a swimming pool here. Okay. This example works because you got 0 debt, and then you call the builder, you call the architect, and the guy says, look, I'm going to get the pool built. I'm going to get you all the permits. I'm going to get the design, the garden, everything is great. It's going to cost you $100,000. Now you have this big number, 100 grand. Okay. Then you go into the bank and you say, hi, I would like to extend my mortgage for $100,000 because I want to build a pool. And you think it's going to increase the value of the house? Yes, it will. Is it a good investment? Could be. So you go and you borrow 100 grand, and now you're going to put a pool in. Then you sit with Johnny at the bank, and Johnny says to you, all right, do you want a 25-year term or 30-year term? And you say, what's the difference? And he says, well, you know, if you, sorry, yeah?
So we'll probably, you save some money each week a month, lower loan repayments, right? You'll be all
Correct. A longer loan, you pay less money, right? A longer loan, you pay less money. Well, the truth is, the moment that Johnny gives you the monthly repayment on that loan, you will make all your decisions on that number. Look at nowhere else. Just look at this. What is the money you're paying per month? $644. And if you're married, you got a partner, you look at your partner and you go, is that okay? Yeah, it's good. Let's go. You already made up your mind. Notice that no one's going to pull a spreadsheet, a calculator, and no one does it. 644 it's a gut feeling. And this is what most of the finance institutions want you to do, to make the decision on the monthly repayment, the fortnightly repayment, and the weekly repayment. They want you to just look at your exchange, $1 per hour, and you can know if you can make that repayment. And all the decision for most people, 100% of the decision we made here, I can afford the repayment. Go back to sleep. Okay, got it. So it is law. Every financial institution in Australia has to tell you the value of that loan, how much you pay for it. If you go right now in any bank mortgage calculator, it's going to tell you the amount of money you're borrowing, no. But at the end, scroll down the page, down you will see it, the total amount you're going to pay. Now the numbers start to get interesting. Because most people already switched off. They made their numbers, the decision on 644. They made up their minds, they go. But baby, you're going to pay $193,000 back. Okay, let's have a look at this now. Now, help me if you guys just become a little bit more interactive. How come in the first 10 years, if you look at the graph of the loan, how come in the first 10 years, the debt's not coming down aggressively? It's just kind of coming down slowly. Why do you think that is? I would love if you type something in there for me. What do you think it is? Right? If you start now looking at the journey here, yes, the interest, right? If you start looking at the conversation here, is in the first year you paid back $7,000. 5 years later, you paid back $38,000. But if you to ask the question, how much am I good for? Well, you're good for 10. 10 years later, you paid back $77,000. But how much you good for? Well, good for 23. So let's just say on year 13, you walk in and you say to the bank manager, what the heck's going on here? What's going on? And now you're going to learn two words. You already knew these words all your life. But now they're going to be put together. And goes like this, right? You're paying the interest component first. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So then what happens now is you're paying the interest component first. Why? Because, madam, sir, you are the risk. When we lend you the money, you are the risk. Yes, we have the house as a security for it. But the way we're going to do the mathematics is we're going to lend you the whole amount of 100 grand. When you put the money in here, yeah, the greatest percentage of it is paying the interest component. And a little bit towards the principal. Got it. Around the year 10 and 11, that equation inside of the computer changes, and more of it now is going towards the principal. So when you have a look at the life of the loan, you borrowed 100,000 and you paid back 193,000. Now, let me just reverse this and take you here. At this point, you paid around 77. 13 years later, you paid 100 grand. But how much are you good for? Are you good for 33,000? Right. You tell me now what the average couple you know will do after they live in that home for the first 10 years. They've been in their house for 10 years. What do? I'll tell you what they do. They sell the house and buy a bigger one. Sorry, Gary? That's right. They go and get more debt. But what happens is like, honey, you make a lot more money. That's right. So do you. We can afford a bigger repayment. So they actually sell the house after being there for 10 years, 11 years, right? Around that time, they quit the loan, they pay it off, and they start a brand new loan for a much more expensive house. And then you wonder why when somebody shows up at 46 and say, I still have a mortgage. Why? Because this is how you're playing the game. Right? So you get that, right? Now, let me just now have a look at this. So key point is that, one will pay back $193,000 for the 100 grand. You got that. But now it gets worse. No, it's already tough, man. Now it gets worse. What do you mean, Julio? Well, I want to ask you a question like this. When do you pay for your house? When? Some of you say the first of the month. Some of you say every Tuesday. Some of you say, I don't know, it goes from that account to that account. But now Gary is my witness. He's in the room, right? I want you to take this baby home. It goes like this. You pay for your mortgage after tax. Oh, no. Yeah, some of you are smiling, but I can see some girls go, you want to say something, right? You go like this. So check this out. You got to earn $298,000. Because you earn $298,000, you pay $104 in tax. Yep. Why? Because you earn $298. Yeah. So you can afford the debt, right? Well, you will pay back $193, and only thing you're meant to do is to borrow $100. Let me work this backwards. You saw a swimming pool for $100,000. You made your decision on $644. Got it. You will pay back $193. To have $193 in your pocket, you got to earn $298. To have $193 in your pocket, you got to earn $298. So when Gary says, I'm going to put a club together, I'm going to join people, he's going to say something like this, I want to give out wisdom. I'm saying, brother, we got to do this. Raise the financial intelligence for people. Because when you ask people, when do you pay for your mortgage? Very rarely you get somebody saying after tax. The best way to look at this is you earn $1. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You earned 70 cents. And when you put the 70 cents in, right, the bulk of it is going to interest in the first 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where you look at this, and it's so common. And we like all the time we see people do the renovations of the killer, do 150K, 200K renovation. Now it's maybe even 300K. And it's increasing your lifestyle asset, right? And when you're increasing your lifestyle asset, again, we're using 100 grand as a number here, it's going to cost you 300 grand to equal that 100 grand. And this is what's so frustrating that I've seen, because, generally speaking, I share all my wealth creation with people in meetings, and I tell people how I do it when they ask. And, I bought 5 investment properties before I owned one property that I lived in.
Yeah.
5 investment properties first. And that's because
we've been teaching this.
Yeah.
Gary's been teaching this. I have been teaching this. And doesn't matter how often we speak, the majority of people, when we say it, they go like, what? Now you heard us. You heard it. Like, guy owned 5 properties as investment properties before he bought his own house. Why? Because he's playing a different game. And we're going to go there tonight, all right? Now, so let's imagine that you're here with us tonight, and then you come for a consult, and you tell me, hey, Jules, I got a $500,000 mortgage. I want you to look at these numbers now. Let's just say you have a $500,000 worth of mortgage on your home. I want to invite you to multiply these numbers times 5. All we already know about you, right? If you have $500,000 worth of mortgage, you got to earn 1.5 million almost. When you get to one, let's call it 298, 300 times 5, right? Then you got it, right? Got that? You're going to earn 1.5 million. You're going to pay, because you earn that, you're going to pay $500,000 worth of tax to get the compound interest that you're going to pay in that mortgage. That's why when we show up, we go, debt reduction is key. You've got debt. If you got nothing out of tonight, but you got one thing, man, I got to take my debt out. Got it. Well, tonight, we're still going to teach you a debt reduction strategy. It's going to blow your mind, right? It's going to blow your mind. So never pay the bank what they tell you to pay. If a bank tells you $644 for a swimming pool, do everything you can under your power to pay $1,000, $900. Why? Because that extra little money is going off the principal. Every month, you gotta take that principal out. That's the conversation, right? So now, this is, you showed up with a $300,000 mortgage. We know we gotta earn 900, unless we can combine the situation to get you out of that debt. And believe me, most people don't understand that by investing, you actually expedite, you get rid of your personal debt faster. People say, hold on a second, how's that work? Well, we're gonna go there, right? That is. The more you invest, the less tax you pay. So if you're getting some of that tax back, so if you can start investing, getting the tax dispensations, you can use some of the tax back and throw it straight into your personal mortgage. We call it forced savings. It is, and when you start to see the numbers, you start to go, whoa. So that's why it is a strategic positioning. Property generates a weekly return. Tax minimization, the government allows you to claim various tax concessions, and you can leverage from it. So what you're going to find in a moment, I'm going to show you a picture in a moment that is the ultimate model for wealth creation. When the time comes, I want you to take a photo of it and teach your kids, right? Because none of this Gary invented or I invented. We are just speaking to what is possible, right? So let's now change gears here. So we talked about the philosophy. We talked about now debt, right? Now we're going to talk about the island. What island? Australia, the continent island. Right, let's talk about that for a second, right? And I want to plow through this. Look, make no mistake. You see the two guys now fighting for who's going to be the next prime minister of Australia. Blah, 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 this one, blah, 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 that one. Blah, 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 blah. Well, bottom line, it's a young nation. There's been people here for thousands of years. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the flag, Australia, 200 or so years. Everything you see is brand new. Every single piece of road, buildings is less than 200 years old. Got it. Our economy needs more people. There is nowhere to run. Every industry, you need more teachers, you need more carpenters, you need more dentists, you need more doctors, everywhere. Why? Well, it's a young country and the economy is growing and we need people to grow it. So the catch-22 is this. If we don't import people, the economy will halt, will end. There's not enough. So it's actually start shrinking, right? But if we import too many people too fast, where the heck are they going to live? Right. But man, it doesn't matter which house you look into, do your own research. We know that we're going to reach 30 million Australians very fast. When I arrived in Australia in 1988, I'm a new Aussie. I've been Aussianized, Aussified. I was born in Brazil. My parents immigrants to Brazil. But I got to tell you this, it's not a Qantas slogan. I'll tell you, I call Australia home. It's just like, I do actually fly lots of Virgin, but you get the meaning, right? So when you look at this, you go, right, look, not that Chris and I would care. Well, about what? Well, Chris is right there. I can see Chris here on my screen. He got the same hairstyle as me, right? He's right there, boom, right? Right? But I gotta tell you this, check this out. If a population is gonna go from 20 million, 23 million, 25 million to 36 million to 30 million, all these people want to buy a fridge. They want to buy a push bike. They want to buy shampoo. Well, not that we would care, would we, Chris, about shampoo? It doesn't matter what business you go into. When you have such an increase in population, every business will flourish. But then we are addicted to bad news saying that inflation is happening, this is happening, this is happening. So, man, I don't know. I just want to say this to you. We already have a housing crisis and we need more people. You've got to do your sums. So Australian population is likely to hit 30 million by 2033, almost a 15% increase in just the decade to come, right? Unemployment in our nation is always between 4 and 5%. Let's just imagine that whatever is happening in the United States, whatever is happening in the EU, whatever. Let's just say the world goes into chaos. Australia, it would be almost impossible for us to hit a 10% unemployment. So if we doubled our unemployment, right? Man, the news will go berserk. The news is already going berserk, right? Well, the truth is 90% of people getting up and going to work. The train driver will drive the train. We already figured out, I want you to know from a national security point of view, we already know if the world went ba-boom, we know we have enough meat. We know we can create a digital currency overnight. And she'll be right, indeed, she'll be right. And we know that. But we're playing geopolitics. Got it. So let me stay within and from a numbers point of view. Take me to 10%. I still have population growth. I still have a higher demand for houses that they can produce. What should I do about it? Well, position myself. Okay? So the NAB metrics paints an even starker picture with almost 53% of business having difficulty in hiring. Well, there's not enough people. We need more people. So we got to understand a bit more the micro and macro economies as well. So the National Housing Finance and Investment Corporation, Australia faces an unprecedented housing crisis with severe supply-demand imbalance. And then we're talking about, new Australians, there is a phenomenon happening on the planet. If you and I were anywhere in Europe, and we were in France or Italy or it doesn't matter. And we were at the metro, and you saw a young couple walking by, and you said, hey, do you rent or do you own? We know that they can't afford to buy. And we're talking about people in their mid-40s, right? To buy the first house. There are generational renters now. And for us to imagine that some of Australian population is not going to experience that would be naive. What we need to do is to be serious about the polarity of the problem. We need more people. We need to produce more houses. The solution for houses is not there. I got a window for 10 to 12 years. If I buy now. So Melbourne, Gary and I were talking about this morning. In Australia right now, in Melbourne, you can buy a house for $750,000 today, 4-bedroom. Ooh, I don't want to buy a house in outer suburbs of Melbourne. Are you insane? There will be no outer suburbs. Everything's going to be in Melbourne.
And I got this one wrong, and I'll put up my hand on this one, and I was a bit silly. I think it was definitely over 10 years ago. I was looking at Point Cook. So those that are in Melbourne, Point Cook is for me an outer suburb. And, I really don't want to say this out loud, but you could buy house and land packages down there for like 300,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Justification is it's an outer suburb, blah, 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 blah. And fast forward now, those same houses are now looking at that in Point Cook, are looking at that 700 to $1 million, depending if you're in the lake and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I made a mistake, categorically made a mistake. And then every single one of us here who is my age or older, you'll have the exact same story about whatever you define as outer suburbs in your lifetime.
Yeah. See, man, for me, like I remember when properties, because I've been doing this for 3 decades now. I've been doing this for 30 years. It's been a long time. I remember when properties in Australia hit 350,000, and there was a social outcry. People saying, "Oh my God, this is ridiculous. We can't." And I remember writing articles all the time saying it's going to go to 1 million. And people are like, "Whoa! I want you to know, man. By 2050, an average house in Australia will be 4 million." What? You're hearing me? In 25 years, it's going to go from 1 million tonight What? Look, you could buy a house in Australia in 1950 in Sydney for $17,000. Just look it up tonight. $17,000, $18,000, $22,000. You bought a house in Sydney in the 50s. No. Yes. Right? So there's no news here. The annual housing shortfall, 71,000 dwellings. New dwellings approvals is 29% below target. Construction insolvencies, 480 companies in 2024 went under. Excuse me? Yeah, man. Right. Well, what does that mean? Well, I understand now that the supply chain is way better now, way more healthier now, but it doesn't matter that we will be late for the next 10 years in producing houses. So demand and supply. If the demand is greater than the supply, you know what happens to price. It's simple maths, right? If you look at vacancy rates across, if you look at a town and the vacancy rate is 2%, what that means is that out of every 100 houses, 2 are available for rent. That's what we're looking at, right? What do you think is going to happen to rent, right? And here comes what Gary's talking about. I bought 5 houses before I bought my own house. Now comes the switch. What's the switch? If you buy a house as an investment, completely different set of rules. Other people pay for it. So this pie chart here now is going to lead us to a moment where you can investigate your numbers unemotionally. So when you buy an investment property, you have a tenant paying 50% of the bills. Yep. You have the tax office paying 30, 35, sometimes 40, sometimes 47, right? Percent of the bills. You got to pay 15% or less, but you get to own 100% of the assets. So when a young guy who is now your accountant says to you, I bought 5 houses before I bought my own house, you get the game. He didn't buy the 5 houses all at once. He bought the first one. And then he bought the second one. And then he bought the third one. What he was doing is he was buying a house, getting his tax back, and plowing the debt down. Then afford him to buy another one, another. By the time he had 5 houses working for him, he goes, right, now I can get these houses to help me to buy my own home. Right?
And
Yes.
now again, it's on record. So, but anyway, the point is now I look at this and I say that all my houses, all the people that rent in the properties that I own across Australia, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, across Australia, they actually pay enough rent to cover the mortgage on the apartment that I live in.
Yeah.
I made a choice to buy a really expensive apartment that will not go up in value, so I don't pretend like it's going to go up in value, and I'm okay with that. I put up my hand saying it's probably a bad investment, but my tenants are the ones that actually pay for it because I have enough properties that are cash flow positive, owned them over a long period of time, that now have that free cash flow that allows my my rent to be paid on
There you
the
go.
apartment.
So this nice apartment, you're buying the utility of living well, but the truth is it's coming through your investments are paying for it rather than you paying for it.
Imagine if I sent them, all my tenants, a letter saying, by the way, thanks for making the loan repayments on my apartment. It would not go down well. But this is the difference between the game. Some people understand wealth creation and do the things that are required, and other people are too busy.
Too busy. All right, so moving on now, guys, in terms of the missing link for most people is integration. You need the ability to integrate investing with debt reduction and tax planning. You need to put in place a systematic, simple, safe, easy to understand, and repeatable system to enable you to create a large asset base without the hard work. Got it. And it will even be better for you and your family name if your kids get it. So once you depart this reality, they keep playing the game. What game? The game of integration, right? So the solution, the mislink in the ability to integrate is investing with debt reduction and tax planning. So it starts to close the circle of what we are saying here tonight. And I want to show you the system now. And those of you that are on your phone, take a screenshot. Those of you that are in your computer, feel free to take a photo of this. Because I'm going to tell you now, if you're going to go and see your accountant, and you look like this, you are the sexiest person your accountant seen in years. So let me explain what you're looking at here. Is this. You see the home, the first house at the top, it's your own home. So the circle protects your house. So if you're going to borrow equity against your house, you can do it. Why? Because they're going to let you, but you got to protect your home. It's called firewalls in finance. You pull the equity out of the house, you buy another house. Why? Because you can, because they will let you. The moment that you buy the first house, you use all the tax minimization to drive your own personal debt down. You buy the first house, and then eventually you buy the second one, the third one. As those houses become cash flow positive, they start buying everything else. Well, you heard me. So if I bought a property in Brisbane, let's just say, I don't know, 15 years ago, I bought a house in Brisbane for $290,000, $350,000. Tonight, that house is $900,000. That house now pays me rent, that pays the mortgage, pays the council rates, pays all the expenses, and I got money left over. So every week, that house could go and buy $200 worth of shares. Every week. And I just keep doing that. Not only that, I also know that house is going to keep increasing in value, meaning that I can borrow against it and buy another one. So this is the game. This is actually to print in an imagery for your kid's mind and go say, okay, got that. And this is where we're going.
Houses buy houses, houses buy investments.
Yeah.
We need to get out of the trap of relying on our income to pay for these things.
Exactly right. So now, guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to now show you the thing that we said in the very beginning of the presentation. I'm going to get off this presentation now. I'm going to bring it up now. This software here. This software, can everybody see what I'm looking at? Or do I have to share it again? Nathan, can you see the software now? No. All right, just 2 seconds, guys. I got to stop sharing. I'm going to now share. Hold on. Here we go. Share. Okay, cool. Now, this piece here is my legacy piece, right? I've been doing this thing for a long, long time. We became the biggest distributor of property investments in Australia. I don't sell properties. I buy them. I buy them for my clients. I have had clients that bought 16 properties through us. I have clients that bought 2 and 3 and 4. So as I'm getting older and older, and what's the meaning and the purpose is to raise the financial intelligence for people. So what this software, yes?
That's why we get along so well, because we both have the exact same vision with financial literacy and lifting up the market in Australia, lifting up fellow Australians.
Yeah. So guys, I am just going to show you now, and thank you for staying with me. I understand often when you start talking numbers to people, they start to look at what are the numbers, and they may get bored. Please don't get bored, because the numbers define your future, okay? So let's just have a look at this. Oh, by the way, all of you, present or not present in this, I'm going to call celebration, in this communication, in this sharing, right? If you are a client of Gary, right? If you're a client of Hatcher, you will have access to the software, okay? It is a deal that Gary and I did. Gary says, man, I want my clients to have that. Yep, your clients can have that, all right? But so let's have a look at this. What's happening now is you get John, his surname is case study 1, okay? So you look at John, you look at his age, okay? He's in his 40s, right? So you think, cool, he's on 140 grand a year. He's married to Anna. Anna's on $88,000 a year, right? They have 2 kids, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. Okay. They have saved now $140,000. Yep. They have a total superannuation of $256,000, right? They have managed funds. So when you see people with managed funds of $160,000, you can already, by definition, know that these guys are starting already in that pillar of accumulating assets, right? So, yep, I got 160 grand worth of shares. Okay.
Managed fund share portfolio. crypto, whatever you want to put in that one that is that one of those like liquid type of.
That's exactly right. So then here, what happened then is they have $10,000 with credit card, 256 in super, and they can save $750 a week. Now this is very important. This money, how much can you save a week, is pretty much saying how much money can you employ, how much money can you deploy for houses that buy houses, houses buy everything else. So if you put $100, your engine is going to be small. If you put $200, be a bit bigger. If you start putting 400, 500, well, you see some bigger results. They want to retire in 20 years, and they would like to retire with the equivalent tonight of 150 grand. Okay, so that's who they are. 20 years before retirement, when we retire, we want to have the capacity to spend 150 grand of the 150 grand that what goods and services we'll buy tonight. Okay. Now they have a house with 980,000 and they have a mortgage on that house for 345,000. Now that you've been here with us for an hour or so, you know that $345,000, right? Would be the $345,000 would be our target. We've got to get rid of that personal debt as fast as we can. And here's the monthly repayment on that house. You press this.
Pay for it from our wages, and it'll cost us around $1 million over a period of time.
So imagine now that the software is exactly that, Gary. Thank you, man. And I remember I was having some incredible discussions about that. I have interviewed thousands of people. So the software is created on this basis. Imagine. No one is trying to sell you anything, push anything. You're in, in your house, safe space, and you could put just the numbers in there and have a software that creates. Just keep doing what you're doing. Change nothing. Stay as you are, because that's the tendency for most people. I'll stay as I am. Well, what if you did a little bit? What if you use the mechanics of the software to move every time you can move? What if the software could tell you how many times you could move? So check this out. So here's John and Anna. So we are looking at continue as is. In other words, just continue doing what you're doing. Keep your belief system. The software is already saying, here we have a table. This table here, when you go and see property companies, they're always telling you, properties perform at 7%, 9%, 11%. It doubles every 10 years. Sorry? Yeah. Look, man, the software, the way I set up here now is if the properties don't perform at the same as inflation is 4%, property is going to perform at 4%. I believe property will perform in the current state. Yeah, if somebody says to me 7%, I'm happy with that. Well, the software is set to go at 4%. Let's be conservative. Got it. So if you have money in the bank, so if you have money in properties, 4%. If you have money in the bank, is 1%. If you have money in super, is 5%. No, Julio. I checked out my super, and my super is performing at 7%. Well, come here, change to 7. There it is. No one is imposing any views on you, right? So if you say, no, I believe the properties perform at 5%, well, put it there then. Hey, in the bank, my bank is going to pay me 2%, no problem. There it is. So what actually happens is every single time you borrow money, the computer is going to imagine it's 6.5%. It's looking for a 20% deposit, got it? And then when you look at this, you know now if John and Anna don't do anything, they'll be worth $2,939,000. There is no okay, there we go. So, right. By the year 2045, you'll be worth this much. And then if you really look at it, yep. And you're telling me that you want to live in the same at $150,000 tonight. In 20 years, you're going to need $341,000 to buy what 150 buys tonight. Well, what happened? Compounding inflation happened. Got it. Yep. So if that's all the money that you got, and this is the money outside of your home, right? Well, you run out of money in 8 years. Whoa. so then you're gonna reduce the amount you want to spend so you can come over here and change 150 to 90,000. And then you say, look, I'm gonna have to work a couple of more years. You go, okay, 22 years, right? And you go recalculate. See, what happens now, it takes out all of the unknown. No more not knowing. And you calculate all of that. Oh, hold on. The income here per annum is not 90,000, is $90, is 90,000. Yeah. Yeah. Per annum. All right. So when you look at this, you come here and you picked up 5 more years. Why? Because you didn't have assets. You had a little bit of super. You had a little bit of savings. Now, if I go impossible now, check this out. This couple can buy a property investment right now. The little green bricks, they mean properties. Oh, okay. So then I said to Gary, I said, Gary, nice to have a look at it, but I can press one button and you go, right, how many houses can this couple buy? It's already mapped out. No. Yeah. No, man. No, it's mapped out. They can buy one house. The following year, they can buy another one. Then they go, a few years will go by. Then they can buy the third one, the fourth one. Can you see here around the year 2035, you see how the curve just shoots up? That's because the personal debt is gone. The personal debt is actually almost gone around here. And then off it goes. Now, the point is, these guys could go to 8.5 million. How? By having a plan, by having a strategy. Now, Julio, show me, how do you get to this? Sure. So we go here now and I do a quick analysis. You know that little pie chart I showed that to you? That's them right there. Right. If this couple in their current position, the tax they're paying. So the software is actually calculating all money's in, all money's out. Right. What's not included? The beer. What beer? Exactly. Everything else is included. Right? So now, you look at this and you go, the tenant is going to pay 58% of the bills. The ATO is going to pay 29% of the bills. Got it. But you, Jimmy, John, you're going to have to pay 12% of the bills. $100 a week. Right. Can you imagine telling a mate, you can buy a house for $100 a week in Australia?
And what's crazy there, Julia, like again, we've done this a lot of times, right? So like with our clients, we know this. I've helped so many clients buy properties. You've helped so many clients buy properties. But the fact remains here that $100 a week out of your bank account today, in this example, the one that you just showed there, takes someone's net assets from $2.9 million in 20 years' time.
You got it. Yeah.
It's insane for just $100 a week. So it's like, this is why I get so annoyed about people being, quote, too busy. It's like, dude, are you too busy to change your life and your family's lives? And you don't have to be so aggressive. I get it. Like, not everyone will be so aggressive, but there's no reason why, in this case, you don't do like 2 properties, 3 properties over a 10-year period. Still going to do exceptionally well.
Yeah. When you look at this now, you may say to me, hey man, how'd you get to that? Julio, how'd you here's the detail of the details. So guys, the software is designed for you to work closely with your partner, closely with your kids, closely with your accountant. All numbers are like you're looking at it. So look at this. This couple in the year 2025, they decided to buy one property. The software has taken an example of $650,000 property. Got it. If you click one button, I can do all the numbers for $1 million property, $800, it doesn't matter. So let's just run with this. So in 2025, they're buying a $650,000 house. Well, the software is imagining that off that house, $370,000 is deductible because the land's not deductible, the building is. And that's what the depreciation schedule will come in. Right? So now you look at it and you come across here and you go, this $370,000 worth of deductions translates as $29,000 each. $20,000 worth of deductions for John, $20,000 worth of deductions for Ann. Ooh, got it? Got it. Here, we're buying the house for 650,000, and we look at total costs, 682,000. So the software already imagined $32,000 for costs. What cost? Stamp duty, solicitor's fees, council rates, insurance, you name it.
I thought stamp duty was going when we bought in GST back in 2001. Who voted for that?
Yeah.
I blame. There will be people on this call that were voting for that. I didn't. I was too young. I know for a fact I was too young back then, but someone voted for it, and we now have stamp duty. Continue, sorry.
Right. So yeah. So then you go, all right, now interest rates at 6.5. I want to show you something else here about our approach. You see here how the rent is $500. 500 bucks is conservative for where we are in Australia right now. A $650,000 property may pick up 600 bucks a week with the rent. But the software for us to imagine possibility is conservative. Is conservative by nature. Now check this out. When you come over here, you know the cost is $101. Now, what if I picked up 600 bucks a week rent? Then the property will cost you $1. No, get out. No, man, I mean it. No, I mean it. The pizza pie chart is real. The more money the tenant puts in, the less money you put in. So the conversation is, how much can you afford per week? Oh, I can afford 200 bucks a week. Then the software is going to work with the 200 bucks a week. That's my buying cap. Got it. So if it goes over 200 bucks, it doesn't trigger. If it's below $200, right, it goes. And the software also imagines that the property will be empty for 3 weeks. Why? Because if a tenant moves out, it takes you around 2 to 3 weeks to find another one. So it's 500 bucks per week for 49 weeks. You come to this other end here, and you look at it now and go, right, applied income plus rental income, the deductions that we'll get per each house, the taxable income now is this much. Got it. Present tax is 40, new tax becomes 33, present tax is 21, it becomes 15, got it. And then the tax savings, and then away we go. So when you look at this kind of access, so imagine if you to come and say, hold on a second, what if? It doesn't matter what the what if is. If you come here to client financial wealth check, and you were to say something like, right, hold on a second, what if I had a pay rise? You just put in 160,000. Got it. It's already calculated all the tax. What if my wife had the pay rise to 98 and I had a pay decrease? All right, put it there. It is done. You press go, it will go. So there is no longer not knowing.
And the same as you guys get to do this at home in the comfort of your home, play around with the software. And also, you might go, we don't want to wish anyone dies, but you might go, I know I'm going to get a $100,000 inheritance in 2 years' time, or 3 years' time, or 5 years' time, or 10 years' time. So you can start thinking about that and going, and this is why I love this software the most, is I look at it and go, this gives me the ability to map out from a wealth creation perspective where I am today, where I'm going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and I can just do it all myself. You've seen how easy it is to plug all these details in, and you might go, well, you might even say up here, this is a good point, we better point it out. You can change your rate of return of what the super is, the fund is, the shares, the savings, inflation, interest rates, whatever you want to do, you could change it.
Whatever you want to do.
You can, as Julia's doing right now, you can change the property. I only want to buy $1 million properties. So you could change it to $1 million properties.
A conversation I had with Gary, sorry, Gary, keep going, because I'm just following with you.
No, jump in, sorry.
Man, a conversation I had with Gary is like this, man. I have created over 2,400 million. What do you mean you have created? That's a bit robust, isn't it? It's a bit egocentric to say. Oh, yeah. I think, yeah. But the truth is, man, I've been teaching people 2,400 of them over 30 years. Got it. There's a lot of people that never get it. If you knew how many people came up to me and say, oh, I saw you speaking 10 years ago. And then what happened? I got busy. So you're speaking 5 years ago. So you're speaking 20 years ago, right? But what I want to do now is use the power of the internet use the power of all the social media and all of that stuff, and people that are in the know, they're in the know. Let me show you something really powerful. People go, I want to buy my first property. I want to buy a cheap one. Why? Because my first one, I don't want to dive all in. Really? Yeah. Well, sometimes when you buy a bigger one, you get more rent. Yep. And you get more depreciation. Right. So you come here, same person, same couple, and you change from 650 to 750. Okay. You press recalculate. Right. Everything's done. Look now at your decision-making process. That's why the numbers are so important. So first is the client, then the strategy, and then the last thing you look at is the property. Because properties are like bosses. They come in all the time. Imagine if you had a selection criteria that only got you on the best bosses. That's the piece. The richer my clients become, the more they become my clients. So say, here's the couple. Have a look now at their chain reaction. Okay, 8 million. 8 million. If you say to me, right, now check out the step-by-step process. When you come here and you do a property analysis, okay, you look at it and you go, right. So $750,000 property, Now the depreciation is 410, which causes a deduction of 33,000 each. So when you look at it, you go, hold on a second. You are telling me I'm buying $100,000 more expensive house and it's going to cost me 15 bucks a week more? Yeah, that's exactly what you're looking at. Why? Because you get more depreciation, you get more rent. Now let's have a look here at the rent piece. We're looking at a house for $750,000 and the software is imagining 570 bucks per week rent. What are the chances of this property getting $670 a week rent for 750? So this property could cost you 16 bucks a week.
And this is again another prime example of one of the requirements that I have on the software is that it's conservative. So I don't like people. I wouldn't like let someone pop something up if it was too aggressive. And again, all of you out there that know my property portfolios, you know that I get a higher rate of return than 4% yield. So I make analytical decisions on buying investment properties, not emotional decisions on buying properties. And that's
Exactly
the big
right.
difference. So if you want to become wealthy through property, you got to make analytical, which is the numbers. You got to make number related decisions on buying properties rather than going, that house is pretty. And my daughter's 3, right? So when my daughter's 18, she can move into that house. It's across the road. Don't worry about the 100 grand I got to spend in renovations in the next 10 years to make it livable, or when she's going to move in there at 18, because of course I want to have my daughter living across the road from me at 18 and having house parties. What could go wrong? But nevertheless, people do all the time emotional decisions on properties when it's purely an analytical number-based decision to buy an investment property, because that's what we're doing, investments.
What I want to do now is to say this to you. Find out what you can achieve for your future now. No more not knowing. That ends. And if you are a client of Gary, you are welcome to share this with family and friends. You really are. Because bottom line for us is we want to raise the financial intelligence for everybody. Now, what's going to happen now is this. We're going to go in together. I want you to be case study number 2 for yourself. I'm going to go in with you now, and you're going to see me putting it all in together, right? But bottom line is this. If you take the phone shot at this, if you take a photo of the QR code, you'll be in the software. If you want to open another browser here, Nathan, can you please place the, it's already there? Thank you, brother. Now, what we're going to do is go in together, okay? So I'm going to escape here. I am going to open it up. I'm going to copy the folder, like the the link just like you do from the box. Okay, Control C. I now want to share my screen. There you go. Share. Yeah. Capabilities. Yeah. Nathan, can you do that? Gary wants to be able to share stuff as well.
Yeah. So we'll just wait for a couple of people to log into the software before we show how to do it.
Sorry, Nathan,
yeah, he's got it. He's got it. So I just want to quickly show you
Okay.
this. People aren't aware, or maybe you don't look this up, but when I look up property in different suburbs, I do the suburb report. And again, I picked on Point Cook before to show how silly my decision was 10 years ago not to buy. But if I look today, there's 60 houses that were available in the last month, right? Which sounds like a lot. But for the 60 houses that were available, there's 1,917 potential buyers. So if you read that, they're people who are seriously looking at buying a property. So if I do that 1,917 divided by the 60 houses, that is an insane amount. So it's 31.95 people per house in Point Cook, which just blows my mind. And then you look at this and you go, one day, an average house in Point Cook is taking 44 days to sell. So again, taking this into consideration and to think about this, you've got to look at it and go, Australia will have another 3 to 5 million people over the next 10 years. That's what they're forecasting. Unfortunately, I think Labor will win the next election. It's already in the budget. They do the population in the budget, and the budget came out last month. Last month. And you can see that they are projecting the population growth from migration will continue to happen. Mathematically, it will happen. Right now, if you think the property market is expensive, there's still, out of this, there is 60 buyers out of 1,700 actually bought the house. House rates are going to go down this year, maybe 3 or 4 rate cuts this year. If I get it wrong, it'll be 3 or 4 rate cuts next year. It doesn't matter. All I want you to think about when it comes to property is think how crazy the property market was 2 years ago, right? Think about how crazy it was. 2 years ago, you had 1.2 million less people in Australia. So however crazy you think the property market was 2 years ago, you wait when interest rates do go down 1 more %, and you see how crazy it is. This is why we're so passionate about property. I just want people to be financially free. I want people to come to me in 10 years' time, be financially free, not be on the age pension. And the easiest way to achieve financial wealth in Australia is through property. And this is a prime example of it. You can do this with any suburb. I'm looking at, we talked about Brisbane or Queensland. I've got a lot of properties in Queensland. I've got a lot of properties in Victoria. They're the 2 spots that I'm investing in. Julio, his team has so many different options, which is fantastic for different risk profile type of people. But for me, this is the number one way to become wealthy in Australia is by buying property and just sitting on your ass and doing nothing. You literally let someone else do all the work and pay the bills for you. But anyway, I'll let you share your screen now.
Oh man, this is cool. This is very cool. Guys, what happens now is if you copy the link, from what was in the chat, you should be here with me now. Right? Now we're gonna go in together. Okay? So you see the experience, what will happen here. The conversation, right, is simple. No more not knowing. Right? So yeah, it is. It is. I am going to go, Bob. Okay. That's true. That's true. Here we go. So now you should be into the software. So now, guys, it is like this. You're about to have 6 hours worth of consulting. And I'm going to tell you now, the AI on this thing is solid. We are the most advanced in Australia. No one has what we got. Now you got it. Now check this out. Let's just.
And I
Mhm.
verified this way too much. Everyone who knows me well, I'm like, I just like fact check everything way too much and bugged in so much. Um, that's how much I've gone into this. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. The AI is crazy here. You guys get it at your fingertips. This is fantastic, and I actually appreciate Julio for and his team for making it all happen.
When you have a look at this now, household income is, if you're single, it's just your income. If you're in a partnership, it's both together. So let's just say here, one partner is making 110, the other partner is making 90. So it's $200,000 combined income for the household. Okay, how much you have saved now? Let's just say $45,000, right? Total superannuation, for argument's sake, we're gonna say 200,000, right? Total and managed funds 40,000. Personal debt outside the home, let's just say it's 10 grand for a furniture package somewhere. Are you married now? I'm in a de facto relationship. Got it. How much can you save per week? Oh, I can save $200 a week. See, this is the key. Remember that gap? How much between you, the tenant, and the ATO? Uh-huh. Well, the less money you put here, the you know, the more money you put in here, the more houses you can buy. The less money you put in, but we want somebody to say, I need to retire. I am prepared to put this much money towards my future and put something realistic in there. Got it. How long to go? For argument's sake, I'm going to say 17 years to go. How much would you like to retire on? I would like to retire on 150 grand. Okay, got it. Now, your own home, the value of your own home, for argument's sake here, for the sake of tonight, I'm going to say $1 million. It's the value of my house. What's the debt against your house? I'll say 380,000. Right. Uh, do you have a property investment? Now, let's just say you have 3 properties. I want you to add up the value of all the properties. Oh yeah, I have one for 700. I have another one for 1 million. I have another one for 400. Whatever the total value of the 3 properties is. I got none is 0. I got one. Then it's the value of the one. So here the software is going to take it as a volume piece at this point. Later we'll be able to break it down, right? So, but just for argument's sake, right now, let's just say you got $1.5 million worth of properties, right? And you got $600,000. That is. Next person comes along and says, "Oh no, I have an apartment for 770,000, of which I owe 300,000." It doesn't matter. The software will take anything on, right? I just want total amount for all the investments and total debt. Got it. Press go. Immediately, it's gonna create as is. I'm telling you now, like tonight, no more not knowing. If this was you, you will know $2.6 million is what you are going for. If this all the numbers were you, then, or the numbers I put in, I would know 2.6 is where I'm gonna land, right? I would run out of money in 8 years. What's possible for me now, right? See, I cannot buy a property investment right now. Software is already telling me. Got it. Can I buy more properties going forward? Check this out. I can buy one property next year, or 2 years from now. Then I can buy another one. There's 2 properties. Look at the jump. So what actually happens with the software is this: it doesn't know who you are. It would just be looking at what the conversation is. I'm gonna do something here where I'm just gonna change a couple of things. I'm just gonna make it go. So I'm gonna put $240,000, okay? And I'm gonna take a 0 here with the debt outside, and I can save 220, yeah. And I'm gonna say my property investment here is with 870, and press it go, because I wanna show you something else, just for a moment. You see here now, If I press now, possible now, okay, it triggers one property investment. But then when I go here and I go chain reaction, it's now 3 properties. Now I want to show you something really interesting. Let's just say, okay, that interest rates only come down, okay, 0.5%. Got it. Okay, 6. I'm now going to recalculate. Look at my total amount, 4 million. You can come, oopsie. I am an adult who says oopsie. My kids really laugh. Really laugh. I think it is a movie I saw many years ago as a kid. Check this out. Oopsies. There's no mercy on your numbers. Imagine tonight, you look at the difference here is $1 million worth of difference. What Gary was saying before, you get no escape. $1 million worth of difference. And you say to me, hey, by how much again? I'll be $1 million up. This particular person here, 28 bucks a week. No, get out. No, you heard it. If from now on you were to set up your first property investment, yep, and you pay 28 bucks because that is the gap, yep. You buy the first property, it tells you exactly when the second property will be, it tells you exactly when the third property will be, and you'll be better off $1 million if you were to get the discipline, get the understanding. I don't know, man, what else have you got to have $1 million worth of chain from doing nothing?
And then this is why I love the software so much, because it actually saves people. Don't get this. This saves my organization 20 to 30 hours of work to calculate into a statement of advice where we've have the ability to do it here within 20 minutes. So that's what I want everyone to be doing, is playing with it. Doesn't mean like, and the thing is, like, Julie and I, we don't sell properties. We're only interested in helping people to become financially free. We're not trying to sell anything, right? But here you look at it and go that you've got the ability to, change your life. But it might be, maybe now's not the right time because you've got to wait 2 years. Then we wait 2 years. We try to save as much as we can between now and 2 years' time. And in 2 years' time, we hit the market, right?
Okay. Hey guys, I just wanna say exactly that. The whole piece here is let me just stop the share so I can go back into the presentation. I want to say this to you. I got 37 people with us tonight. I now want to show you another graph. It's called Pareto rule. And again, I just invite you to observe what's going on. So I got 37 people here tonight. Out of the 37 people, 16 people hopped in the software. Out of the 16 people that hopped in the software, 14 people put the numbers in. So if we have a conversation of almost 40 people and only 14 people are now aware of the numbers, these are the people that are here. What's going to happen with them is life. It's called what we call life. What do you mean? Well, you were called to have a look at your numbers and what's possible. And what did you do? I thought I'll do it another time. I do it somewhere else. I do this conversation somewhere else with myself. Perhaps your partners are here. Perhaps, the point I want to make here is this. We see this all the time. If I got paid $1 for every single time that somebody said to me, I met you so many years ago, then what happened? I got busy. What happened? I got busy. So guys, what I want to say to you now is I want to show you, okay, the core of the business we run. Why do we do what we do? So back into the presentation, just so we can conclude tonight, right? Is this how to minimize your tax legally? I already showed you the depreciations in the software. How to build a portfolio. Imagine to have a machine that'll tell you how many houses you can own. Now, Gary and I do this all the time. We help the oldest generation help the new generation. What do you mean? Well, it's very common for us where we have mom and dad who own businesses that can give a conversation to the kids, and then use some equity to set their kids up. It's a conversation we're not going to cover here tonight, but the software is extremely valuable. So rather than you emailing and asking us, oh, can I give it to my kids? Can I give it to my sister? The answer is yes. Okay. When will you achieve financial freedom, independence? Well, the software will take you there. Yes.
We just add in one bit there.
Yeah.
For all of you that are more mature than what I am, and you're thinking, well, hey, maybe I don't want to buy an investment property because of all these different reasons. That's okay. But if you've got children that are 20, 25, 30, more likely than not, they're going to have a good income and have no cash, no equity, right? Or very little equity. So, we do have the ability to go, okay, well, we can get a loan, go guarantor on a loan, buy an investment property, make sure that we're setting up the children, not only with the one, financial literacy, but two, with the assets, without you actually having to sell anything. So if that's you as well, it's something that we can be doing to help the next generation. I'm big about the next generation, so help the next generation to one, learn, and two, get into the market. But it doesn't actually cost you anything. We use their income, their money, their weekly contribution to the investment property, and your equity in a property.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We need to discuss that.
Man, we're here together. Might as well take this one step further, right? So imagine a situation where parents sit with what happened tonight, look at the numbers without emotion, and they have a young adult, let's call it Jimmy now, 24 years of age. Jimmy is on $79,000 a year. Okay. Jimmy went to school with Paul. Jimmy's parents are here tonight with me and Gary. They get it. So now we could use equity. I'm not asking you for cash. The strategy is within strategy. And you set up your son, Jimmy, now, right? So equity is lent. Jimmy goes in. If Jimmy then has a property in his name as an investment property, and he's on 79 grand a year, he's going to get back most of his tax. And we're going to use that tax to start driving the debt down against the first property. In 4 years from now, 5 years from now, we refinance this property. Any equity you lent gets released back to you. Jimmy now has an asset for the rest of his life he can borrow against and go again and again and again. You don't need to die to leave your kids an inheritance in order to be able to do something, right? I hope what I said makes sense. A lot of this conversation went on last time we were here, right? And I want to carry on with the presentation for the sake of time, and closes at 8 o'clock as we promised, right? So, of course, we're going to close around just before 8, but we will be here for Q&As. We'll still hang out for a bit, right? And yeah. Now, what's the model of the business? We throw dinners and we throw parties and people come together. Why? It's open source. The numbers have no feelings. You got this. The way we buy the houses, we do not buy crappy houses. Why? Because if we fail the house number 4, the client's not coming for house number 5. If we fail house number 2, the client's not coming for property number 3. So the name of the game is less is more. Empower your clients for knowing everything. Know as much as you can. Why? Because then you work with the client, not at the client. And some clients then, oh, what about this? What about that? All questions will be answered. And then the clients come together, right? Why? Check Jonathan. Jonathan in 2019 came through, became a client, used the software pretty much like this. You know, we had a conversation, Jonathan hopped on, and then he bought this property. Now, he bought the property in 2019 for $549,000. Today is $780,000. That's the growth, okay? Now, what I love about this piece, like absolutely love, is actually the next slide, which is this. His tax saving per annum is $9,500, and his debt reduction strategy, he's going to get out of the mortgage and in his house at 4.3 years ahead of schedule. Now, let me tell you something about him. In a few years from now, he'll be able to buy another house. The moment that he puts in the next house in, his debt reduction on his own home goes faster down. And the software will give you all of that. So there is no longer not knowing. It's not a matter of opinion. It's like numbers and numbers. That is. right? So this is what I love about this. Is just the beginning of his strategy. Cool. You look at Steven, same piece. People just like you and me. Okay. So I want to say this to you. The QR code for the software is coming up. I'm gonna ask Nathan just to repeat and put it back again, just for relevance. The link to the software, if you didn't get it but now is interested, look at Steven. In 2021, he bought one house. Got it. Which made it impossible to buy another one in 2022. As a matter of fact, just like the software predicted. Got it. So he bought one house. What I love is there's nowhere to hide what the prices did, what the performance is, and so on. Now, look at this. His tax savings is $21,000, which means that by the time we finish, we minimize his tax by 21, but also minimize his debt. Got him out of debt 8.3 years earlier than scheduled. That's why we throw the dinners. That's why we ask people, come along. Where did you buy yours? How about mine in Adelaide? How about mine in Perth? We're totally agnostic. Whatever the state will go, we'll be buying there compared to other states at any given time. If you are our clients, you're probably going to have properties in every state, right? Here we go. New South Wales, Queensland, and Victoria. These are real people, right? Again, you start to see this, what's possible. What if I was to tell you that these people are paying so much tax, and when they came in, they said they could save $300 a week. First property cash flow positive, second property cash flow slightly negative, and third property cost them $30 a week. One couple. Check this out. Watch this, because this starts to make sense now. These guys are going to get $32,000 back because they have the investments. That's 320 grand in the next decade of inefficiency that will just go down the gurgler. Is coming back down to them, translating on 3 properties that other people are paying for. By the time they retire, they will sell their business, they will cash in on a super, they will get a pension from the super, and they have these 3 properties here, just keep growing in value and generating more income. Why? Because we came out to play, right?
And just before we finish that one up, and to try not to overcomplicate it too much. But if you think about your PPR, so your primary place of residence that you live in, normally we would focus the cash on paying down that loan before we'd focus on the investment properties, because investment properties are deductible, or the interest is deductible. So if the family has $2 million in debt across a PPR plus investments, we'd always focus on the PPR first, because that's a non-deductible loan.
Absolutely.
So again, I don't want to overcomplicate it of how we do that for here, but there's always strategies within strategies.
Yeah. So now, guys, I want to show you fully what my business is all about. Okay. When I talk a lot about integration, you notice that it's all about education. I don't want to work at people. If after all of this, people come and meet me and they say, you sell property investments. No, I buy them, right? So first and foremost, we educate the clients, and the education is continuous, right? And then we give you the software. If you don't have the numbers yet, you will know exactly when you're going to have the numbers. And then we have the property selection criteria. Once you become a client, we'll teach you everything on how to select the best property for your portfolio, the next property. The truth is, we buy bulk. As you understand, the clients buying the first property with us right now, there are other clients buying the second one, the third one. When I started doing this business, buyer's agent, these words did not exist. I have been working for my clients. I buy on behalf of the buyer, on behalf of the clients. And then we teach how to select the property, and we will get you the finance with the debt reduction strategy. Cool? So when we start then to look at this from a finance point of view, what I want to say to you is that guys that work for us are award-winner brokers. And they are not just good brokers, they're excellent brokers. And what do you mean by that, Julio? I promise you now, if you ever had a reset on your finances with us, we will get you out of debt faster, because that is our purpose, right? It is debt reduction. It's very, very common for us. People come along. And as a matter of fact, my team is here right now. If you just want to have a look at your finances, interest rates are coming down, and there are all sorts of things that will take shape in the next 6 to 18 months. Jules, I just want you to look at our finance. Would you please go ahead and type finance onto the communication box and let us know. My team will see that coming through, and then we will give you absolutely obligation free as to what is possible for you in the finance piece. Please be aware we are dealing with 90 banks. We can go, you stay home, and we will go to 40 banks on your behalf in one afternoon. Okay, why? Because it's called a broker's channel. If you want to summarize my whole entire communication tonight, take a screenshot of this now, right? This is it. What? You on the left, you have a picture like this. You're the sexiest person in your account has seen in years. That's it. Houses that buy house, because you see there's so much tax planning Gary's team can do. So much of it, right? Like, as you said, 4 properties, and you can set up a trust, borrow against the properties, put in a trust, the trust buys the next generation. There's so much to be done. On the right, okay, is a full-on finance debt reduction strategy. If you don't understand this now, and I don't have the time to open it up, just take this to your broker, the good broker, and say, I want one of those. And if he says, I have no idea what you're talking about, you have the link of the software, come and talk to us. But this is what you need. When Gary and I are talking to people that say, we have saved accounts, and this is an offset account? No. Well, why not? I have profit in my business. Is that linked to any mortgages that you connected with? No. What's going on? Right? It happens way more than you would know. Every single dollar you save, a dollar saved is way more powerful than a dollar made. Why? Because you don't pay tax and it's continuous, right? So now, we're all about getting people out of debt fast. So the example here, for the sake of time, I just want to show you this. Jessica's been working with us for 14 years. We're expanding our team. For those of you that already know who I am, we built the biggest distribution of property investments in Australia, known so for 30 years. And people say, oh, you're marketing, Julio, you're not everywhere. No, or you know me or you don't. My business is built in less is more. I'd rather have one client that can buy 3 properties than 3 clients that can buy one. One client that can buy 5 properties. One client that will teach their children to go, got it. So niche, right? The piece is here. Once you become a client of ours, we will teach you how we go about selecting those properties. Once you understand, you basically don't need us anymore. Oh, why would I use you then? Because we buy bulk. And all the benefits of buying bulk, we will give you the research up to the yin-yang. Then you're going to go, man, Gary, is this guy on the spectrum? Yeah, definitely, right? We'll give you all the numbers, and score the properties. Why? Because we don't care if you like it or don't like it. We care that we'll make money. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, still made you money, right? So it's what Gary was saying, unemotional, right? So I want to introduce you now. There's a photo here for Pedro, but the photo for some reason is not coming up. Yeah, Pedro is actually there in there. You see the guy waving, the good-looking guy waving there? That's Pedro right there, waving to everybody. Yes. So what happens now is this. For those of you, okay, that have come into the software, what we'd love to do is to give you a consultation free of charge. You want to have a chat, we'll have a chat, see what's possible. But I want to say this to you. If you use JDL, right, great. If you don't use JDL, get out of the house and buy something. Excuse me, you heard me. She's going to go. She's going to run. Pedro will start calling you guys tomorrow. For those of you that still want to ask questions and so on and so forth, I'm going to start finishing my own presentation right now. And Paul will call tomorrow. Pedro, would you just introduce yourself a little bit? Just tell people what you do, what you're up to here at JDL, so when you call them, they know what's all about.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Julio. Amazing presentation. Thank you, Gary. So I'm a sales development representative here at JDL Strategy. So I usually do a lot of phone calls with a lot of different clients every day. So we'll run through your numbers, understand what is your current financial position, and most important, what is your potential moving forward. So definitely, we already had a look at some of your numbers, and we have a lot of numbers that need some attention. So please reach out to us. That we are gonna have a wonderful conversation.
Perfect. So guys, Gary, from me, from a presentation point of view, I just like to finish to say, I would love if you guys follow us on Instagram. That's my marketing team. Like, I'm from the old world, man. I'm from the old, and that time he works with me, he was laughing. He says, oh man, on the old day, your cover of CEO magazine in the new world, no one knows who you are. It's like, yeah, well, people that do, the people that don't, doesn't matter. But that's why I'm asking if you would follow us. We will also keep sending you the videos that we created. A copy of this video of tonight will be available. And once again, what I want to say to you tonight is, if you liked what you saw on the software and you got the link, this link would work. You could share it with a family member or a friend, right? Or, it doesn't matter. The conversation is we want people to become aware of what the numbers, exactly what Pedro said. There's a lot of numbers begging for attention, right? And that's what we want to do. So, Gary, brother, that is me from a slide point of view. I'm very happy to answer questions, right? And be here. For those of you that need to go, I want to say a couple of things just in terms of concluding. You can see me sometimes turning my head a little bit, and looking there, and as I'm looking this, what has happened is I can see you guys in this conversation, in this screen here. I had some of those tonight. I had some of this tonight. I even had some of this tonight. I mean, there's somebody else in the room, and you're going, are you listening to this? So you've been an incredible crowd. I've been doing this for a long time, and it went from a job to purpose. It's the purpose of my life. It's what I live for. I arrived in Australia with very little English, and this country has been amazing to me. It's given me everything. And the ability and the freedom to be here tonight. Gary, thank you for inviting me. I just want to say to you guys, thank you for staying all the way through. And if we can be of any help, be assured, right? No hard sell, no push. Our endeavor is to help you to become wealthy. End of story, right? So, brother, here I am.
So we'll hand it over. So if you have any questions that I wasn't able to answer in the chat as you were going, obviously happy for you to type them away, or to turn off your mics or turn on your mics and ask directly. So we'll cover anything on the property topics. And then again, for anyone who's in the businesses space, we will be doing a Hatcher Hub session next Wednesday at 7 p.m. So check your emails if you haven't. The recording definitely will be sent out. This recording definitely will be sent out to everyone. So if you'll definitely get a copy of it. Just maybe give us a couple days to get that out. And likewise with the video, you can send it to anyone. You can distribute it out. If you got children, friends, family members that you think that's appropriate to, then happy for you to do that as well.
Yeah. Any questions? Anything spiked for anyone? Is there any questions you'd like to ask tonight? We give it 2 or 3 questions. If anybody had said, no, I had enough, I got to go get my kids to bed, etc., all good. But is there anyone with any specific questions we can help?
Or even just questions about locations, hopefully not too random locations, but locations, investments. I know that both sides of politics at the moment are, literally going to push up the housing market on both of their policies. I don't care what they actually say about making it cheaper for first home buyers. You look at it and go, the policies that make it easier for first home buyers to buy entry level properties, which means that there's more demand for the properties, which means supply demand, house prices go up. Like it's a pretty easy equation. And again, that's like one of the cornerstones of Anthony Albanese's his strategies is to allow or to get more first home buyers into the market, which means that entry level properties are, mathematically will go up more. So we'll have to see what happens in. Yeah, go Chris.
Gary, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's for you, Jules and Gary. If you can sort of clarify the savings part of the calculator. Now, when you say the savings, let's just say, for example, it's $250 a week. Are we putting that $250 a week into the offset, or is that savings that you would just put off to the side? Is that what you mean when you say savings?
Yeah. So let's just say then, if there's going to be three partners, yeah, the ATO plus the tenant, and then there's a blue part is you. So if you say I have zero savings, then the software won't go because you can't cover that blue, right? So let's just say you say I can save $150 and that blue part is $60. So bottom line, it will trigger, okay? And you have leftover $90 a week. So the software already knows that because you said you save $150 a week. So it will take 90 to carry the house through. The moment that rent goes up, your input becomes less, but I will always look at $150 a week as your dedication towards your future. If it's going to carry the house, that's what's going in there. Whatever leftover goes into offset accounts. You're absolutely right.
Right. Okay. So yeah, when you said, just going back at the start, when you said, if they say, hey, this is the minimum, pay more, it's calculating that into the pay more part.
Yeah, so the software, brilliant comment, brilliant insight, brilliant. As a matter of fact, it's exactly like that. The software will know how much you should be paying as a minimum, right? And every above that, it will know the calculations between what's interest, what's principal, and so on. And for the sake of the presentation tonight, we didn't go through every feature, but there is actually a feature into the software. When Pedro calls and you go through it, Nathan will open the whole shebang of the software. You can actually play with the numbers and look at your debt reduction acceleration.
And one important part there to remember is that we're only forecasting it. So in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time, you may then go in and update. Well, actually, I paid an extra $5,000 off my mortgage than I thought I was going to. I paid, I got an extra pay increase, whatever it may be. So it's supposed to be, the whole point of the software is it's supposed to be something that you check in on every 3-6 months to update, even if you feel like, not much has changed, because you just want to keep it up to date. That should be your financial plan goals for the future, right? That's the whole point of the software. That's always something that you refer back to, keep up to date, and keep working on.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks for that.
Oh, no, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And then everyone else that has lots of investment properties, or you might have 3 or 4, again, what Julia was saying is that the software has the ability to map out each individual investment property, but for the first step, it's just group them all together. It even has the functionality to look up properties and to value the properties and have access to all the real estate data on those properties, which is pretty cool. But again, just to keep it very simple at the very start, we just show you 5% of the software. But if that is all, and we have no more questions.
I just want to make one comment. I think following what you were saying, Gary, last meeting we had with Gary's clients, we had a person that showed up and had already 3 property investments. And in the interview, after Pedro called, pulled all the properties into the software, in the interview, this particular client was told by his bank that he was borrowed out, that he couldn't get any more finance, couldn't do anything. The truth was that that wasn't the truth at all. Even though this client had 3 property investments, he bought the property some time ago. All the properties had, after COVID, gone up, rents extremely high. The truth is, he could borrow more and get this. So he goes to his bank, and his bank says, nah, can't borrow any more money. Sits with us, and the truth is, he could buy 2 more houses. For how much? Still 100% his portfolio, 100% of his portfolio cash flow positive. So that's why it's better to be surgical, to be like zero in on the detail. And this is what I said to you. The protocol is first is you, then a strategy, and then finance, then the properties. That's pretty much how we roll, right? If there is any inefficiencies in your life, we want to take that out. That's it.
Without further ado, thank you very much, Julio, and the team have gone into today, and also everyone who watches this on replay and has participated in tonight's event. If you have any questions, Julio and the team can help. Obviously, I can help on some of the questions, but we'll go from there. But thank you, everyone, and hope you've had a fantastic evening, and have a good night, and we'll chat soon.
See you guys. God bless. Bye.